very privileged here at KSJO to have the only two AC/DC interviews given in the Bay Area when AC/DC was here in concert. I sat backstage with Brian Johnson for 25 minutes on tape, so you're going to hear a lot of talk this morning from Brian Johnson. I think you're going to learn a lot about the group as I did. When we finished the interview, we went back to the hotel to watch Midnight Special, sitting next to Brian Johnson watching 3 new videotapes they just made 3 weeks before was really exciting for me. I had time also to sit and talk with Malcolm and Angus, off tape, of course. And one interesting thing I found out from Brian was that Angus was playing after being in a car accident the week before in Houston and was in a lot of pain when he was playing here for us. And I think he did a magnificent job considering that. The bad news is that we're not out on tour right now to be able to see Ronnie Montrose sit in with AC/DC, which is indeed the plan since Ronnie Montrose and Gamma is touring with AC/DC. Rather than tell you all the secrets I learned, let's get right into the interview. Here's some AC/DC. I am sitting backstage tonight at the Cow Palace. We're talking about September the 5th, 1980, and I'm with Brian Johnson. God love you, it's good to see you.
Hello, my darling, how are you?
AC/DC's back in town.
Ah, good.
Back in black, back in town. What a show tonight.
Thanks very much, my darling.
Did you know that 1 year ago, last night, I interviewed AC/DC for the first time?
Never.
Yes.
First time.
The first time, and here we are, 4 years later, almost to the day, and I'm sitting talking to a wonderful singer.
Thanks, darling.
I just heard from Malcolm tonight that a fan wrote about Bond's death and suggested you as the lead singer.
Yes, true, yeah.
Were you an AC/DC fan before you?
Yeah, I was in a heavy rock band in England, which was called Geordie.
Right.
And we always had, we'd done a couple of AC/DC songs, we used to have them in the set. But in 1975, there was a Geordie brought a few albums out, in the first Geordie, and had a few imports into America. And it was an American fan who first suggested AC/DC. That's why, the American tour is a little bit special to me. Especially, because of an American person who actually stopped and took the time out to pick a telephone up, And
That's just an incredible story to me.
But it's true.
I know it's true.
That's the thing. So. I look upon myself as the new boy in the band, and I know I've got a hard job to replace someone like Bond. And this is the first tour, and I feel the audience are working as hard as we are because they know what they're used to, and then they're coming to see a new man singing in front of that band, the band they love. And so therefore I don't mind the audience checking me out, because I know it's not fair on them. It is something new, and I thought they were brilliant. The San Francisco audience.
Thank you. We try. We try to be good. We try to be good rock and rollers,
brilliant.
I know you probably had a few moments where you probably got a little scared. I mean, you are filling a big man's shoes, and you know that. You knew the man.
I knew him, yeah. So.
But you must be relieved somewhat to see what the response has been since July 30th when you hit USA.
Yeah, I am. I'm very relieved. I was... the first night was the worst night, when I hit America. And but even so, every night before I go on and actually, hit the bell, and it's just... I can't explain the emotions that I've got to go through. And tonight, the crowd at the Cow Palace, when I walked backstage before the curtains opened, I mean, I wish every one of them could have been with us just to sort of help us on the way. As soon as I heard that roar, I just said, "Oh, thanks lads, thanks lassies." It was great.
You're listening to Live Wire with Sheila Renee. This morning's guest is Brian Johnson, lead singer for AC/DC. We'll be right
on stage. Have you always been that energetic?
Yeah.
Always?
I've always been like that. I'm a little laid back at the minute.
Well, now we are. I'm just sitting here still sweating. I mean, it's...
No, but on stage, I still am a little laid back. I'd really like to let myself go. But as I say, until maybe next year, when I feel a lot more comfortable with the band, then if the same crowds come next year, then I'll feel accepted. Not until then. That's why I still don't feel a fully fledged member of the band until, I just ask everybody to give us another 6 or 7 months, to feel part of it. Because they are a big band, they've always done what they've said they were going to do. They think of their fans first every time. And I know this because as a lad who's just joined them, and when I first met them and they spoke to us, after they said I had the job and we're in the studio and everything, even when we're doing the album, wasn't for them. It wasn't what they wanted. It was what the crowd wanted. So everybody, if Angus did a lead solo on the album, he would say, do you think the kids will like that? Not, do you like that, Mr. Producer? Do you think the kids will like that? And we always say, whoa, great. That's what they want, And I've never met a band who thought of the fans that much. They didn't want some masterpiece on a piece of black vinyl. They just wanted what the kids wanted. That's all. It's simple as that.
I told Malcolm tonight, this to me, even though I love Bond beyond words, it's the best album AC/DC's ever done.
Oh, right.
It is.
Right.
It is for me. Every song is a winner. There's only one song on there that I can do without. The others I can't. And that's Rock and Roll's Noise Pollution. That's the only one that absolutely does not just knock me out. Just knock me out.
Well, it's funny, I can tell you a story about that. Every other song was done, and the boys didn't think it was fair just to have 9 songs on an album. And they said, we'd better have 10 songs. And we had 1 day left in the studio, and they went in, and in about 20 minutes, had the tune for Rock and Roll and Noise Pollution. They said, Brian, can you fix some words up? Fixed some words up, straight in. And to us, that's our favourite song.
Really?
Because the fact was, it wasn't planned, it wasn't anything, it was spontaneous, and the words mean a lot to us.
Well, they mean a lot to
Rock and Roll will never die. And therefore, it's really, the boys just wrote it as a chant. So the kids could wave arms and all that. But we wouldn't do it till maybe next year, if the kids knew it. And we could just sing a couple of bars of, Rock and Roll and Noise Pollution, and the kids could chant along.
You're listening to Live Wire with Sheila Renee on KSJO San Jose.
Every song says what you really mean to me. Back in Black, 9 Lives, and Cat's Eye. You come up with some phrases, Mr. Johnson.
I'm evil.
I know you are. I know. What I say is you're a very earthy person.
Yeah.
I feel it. I see it.
Well, it's just the thing is, when I left school, the rest of the boys are exactly the same. When I left school, I started working in a factory, and I think a lot of the kids can relate. They can tell if someone has been brought up easy or they've been brought up hard. And all the boys in the band have been brought up hard. It's not very easy in England, you've got to work to get money. And it's not easy, and then they just take a bastard off in tax.
Isn't that true?
But it's just, industrial kids, the kids who've got to work and, slave in, factories and stuff like that. They know they know where the band's coming from, I think that's true, I really do.
How long was it before everybody said, we want you, Brian, until you had the songs written?
Yeah.
Because you and Angus and Malcolm told me that most of the words are yours.
Yeah, well, they just asked us to write the lyrics, and
But how long did it take you to write that album?
Well, I only had 2 weeks.
2 weeks, Brian?
That's all I had. Well, you see, by the time they had got themselves, the boys were really shocked about Bond's death. So obviously, for 2 weeks they didn't know you know, they didn't even know they were alive. They didn't know if they were going to carry on or finish, and so therefore they had to make their mind up. And then suddenly, you know, the producer Mutt Lang, who produced Highway to Hell, just said, "Listen, you know, you've got to stop, boys, and think. What are you going to do? You know, we've got the studios booked. You're going to tour booked in America. What are you going to do?" And they just said, "Oh, we're going to carry on. It's as simple as that."
Malcolm told me that your singing sold them. And then he found out that you were a brilliant writer, and they were all just knocked to their knees. They had no idea, he said.
Well, that's why the album was exciting to do, because the boys just didn't have a clue about me. They didn't know
idea. It was like...
They just said, "Listen, all right, we like your voice. You're what we want." Because I'm not what you call a singer who stops and thinks what I'm doing. When I go on stage, it's just emotion, pure emotion. There's nothing thought out. And we, getting back the album and doing it, we just literally had a fortnight. They said, "These are the tunes, Brian, and can we work anything out?" And I thought, God, 14 days, we're going into the studio. They've just heard me sing in a jam. I just had a jam with them, and I mean, what are they going to think of my voice in the studio, when it's it's picked out, there's nothing, you can't hide behind anything. And I must admit I was worried. But it was just, the lads are great lads. Well, you know what they're like.
I know what
they're dead ordinary.
I worship them, I really do, because of their love of what they're doing, and the love of the people who come to see them, and the love of partying, and the love of singing and playing. I mean,
it's just honesty,
intense. It's intense.
It's just honesty. It struck me, as soon as I met them, I thought, oh, great. I'm pleased. For the first time I met a band, I mean a whole band. There's not two who think of rock and roll and two who think AM, sort of middle of the road music or whatever. This is a whole band of people who think like I do, who like a good drink, a good laugh, and just think rock and roll, just live rock and roll,
Listen, these boys come to a little bit of trouble, had just as soon punch somebody out as look at them. I mean, I have heard and seen the boys stand up for their rights, regardless of who or where they are.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, somebody came up to Malcolm the other day, a reporter, and said, what does it feel like to be a superstar now, Malcolm? And Malcolm had him up on the wall, and he said, "Don't you call me a superstar, ever." And that's exactly, he was mad. I mean, he had him up against the wall. He was foaming. It's true of all the boys, I don't want to be called a superstar, because I'm not. And I never will.
Working musicians is a good term for what you do. I mean, that's what you plan to do for your life. You're going to be a musician, you're going to be a singer, writer.
You're listening to Live Wire with Sheila Renee. This morning's guest is Brian Johnson, lead singer for AC/DC. We'll be right back.
To all of these songs, it's pretty much carrying on the tradition of AC/DC, which is talking about what happens in people's lives.
Yeah.
Let me put my love into you. I mean, you say it real up front and honest, and I love that. Well, not let's hold hands and be cute together. Let me put my love into you.
That's good.
What a song.
Oh, good. Pleased you do, because we thought, we're going to have some trouble here with this one. And we'll have to change the last line from the original line to, let me cut your cake with my knife.
Yes.
And the original line was better, but I can't tell you because it was filthy. Because we were drunk when I wrote it. I was drunk.
Listen, the fan club just advised us all that you made a movie recently.
That's correct. It was. I wasn't in the movie. This is the boys made it last year. With Bond. The way the boy before Bond did his thing, it was made before. But I don't think it's going to get released.
Not released.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with the fact that Bond died or anything. It's just the fact that the record companies have pretty much dried up on rock and roll movies since Led Zeppelin's movie, because it didn't do anything. Basically, they're just not interested in rock and roll movies. We've got our own idea of a movie which we'd like to do, and it would be the plan we're having in our mind. It really is good, you know. It's sort of political rock and roll.
Political rock and roll. Well, you and I were talking earlier about a lot of political things, and I'm sure that most people, I don't think, understand that rock and roll bands, each one is a human being, has a life of his own, a mind of his own, and in fact does get involved with what's going on in the world, not just always singing and playing.
You do. I mean, you look around the world. You look around the world, and it worries you. I mean, we were just off at a tour of Italy the other day, and all the boys said, "No, where?" And the guy says, why? What's the matter? The Italian guy. What's the matter? Why can't we come? Why can't AC/DC come to America, to Italy? Beg your pardon. And he said, "Listen, I'll put the fascists on the gates, and I'll have the communists for security, so there's no trouble." See, well, what happens in Italy at the minute is everybody gets kidnapped. I mean, everybody just gets kidnapped. And I mean, and it's bad. I mean, they start chopping your ears off and sending them back as young Rockefeller, and I mean, but it happens all the time. So we just said, no, bars, we can do without all that sort of worry. We just like to enjoy ourselves and go out to the bars.
Yeah, that's the thing about AC/DC. It's a rock and roll party band. You guys party and have a good time, and we do too.
Yeah, right.
Why I thought there was nothing on the album that said "in memory of Bon" or whatever.
I can answer that for you, my dog.
I think you and I are going to have the same one. What's yours?
My answer, which is the truth, this is what it is. The boys don't like writing anything down, which is